The massive view screen in Earth's Defense Force headquarters flickered with an incoming transmission. Commander Jack Stone stood before it, his weathered face illuminated by the pale blue light. The message that appeared made his blood run cold. To the primitive species of Sol 3, designated humans, the alien text scrolled across the screen. The Galactic Council has deemed your kind unfit for integration into greater galactic society. A containment barrier will be erected around your solar system. Do not attempt to interfere. This is not a negotiation. The message was signed by High Counselor Vex, the head of the Galactic Council. Stone's fist clenched at his side. He had warned them. For months, he had told the world's leaders that the Council's diplomatic overtures seemed false. Now they had proof. Get me every major government leader on the line, he ordered his communications officer. Now, within hours, the United Nations Security Council chamber was packed. Stone stood at the podium, his voice firm as he addressed the emergency session. They're already building it, he said, pointing to the astronomical data projected behind him. Our deep space sensors detected unusual energy readings at the edge of our solar system 3 days ago. We thought it was natural phenomena. We were wrong. The room erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and accusations in dozens of languages. Stone waited for the noise to die down. We have approximately 30 days before the barrier is complete, he continued. Once it's done, Earth will be cut off from the rest of the galaxy. No ships in, no ships out. The Chinese representative stood up. What proof do we have that this barrier will only contain us? Could it be a weapon? Stone nodded grimly. Our scientists are analyzing the energy signatures now, but regardless of its true purpose, we cannot allow aliens to cage us like animals. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. Humanity had only recently discovered it wasn't alone in the universe. The Galactic Council had approached Earth 5 years ago, promising to guide humanity into a new age of interstellar cooperation. Now their true colors were showing. I propose, Stone said into the silence, that we form a united Earth Command. All military forces, all resources, all technology, everything working together. We have 1 month to save our species. The voting was unanimous. For the first time in human history, all nations agreed to unite under a single banner. Stone was appointed Supreme Commander of the newly formed UEC. Back at Defense Force HQ, Stone stared at the stars through his office window. The barrier wasn't visible to the naked eye yet, but soon it would be. His computer chimed with an incoming message from the Science Division. Commander, Dr. Anna Miller's face appeared on his screen. The research director looked worried. We've finished our preliminary analysis of the barrier technology. You need to see this immediately. On my way, Stone replied, already moving toward the door. In the research lab, Miller pulled up complex energy diagrams on her holographic display. Look at these patterns, she said, pointing to recurring waves in the data. The barrier isn't just containing energy. It's building up a massive charge. What does that mean? Stone asked, though he feared he already knew. It means, Miller said quietly, that this isn't a quarantine. Once the barrier is complete, it will begin to contract. Slowly at first, but with increasing speed. Within a year, it will crush our entire solar system into a space smaller than Earth's moon. Stone's jaw tightened. They're not trying to contain us. They're trying to kill us. Yes, Miller nodded. And I think I know why. Look at this. She pulled up another screen showing technological development curves. I've been analyzing the gifts the Council gave us. Their technology is advanced, but it's stagnant. They haven't made any major breakthroughs in centuries. But look at humanity's progress in just the last 100 years. Stone understood. They're afraid of us, afraid of what we'll become. Exactly, Miller said. They see our potential, and instead of letting us grow, they've decided to eliminate the threat. Stone stood straight, his decision made. Then we'll show them exactly why they should be afraid. Get me everything you have on their barrier technology. If they want to cage humanity, they're about to learn what happens when you corner a desperate animal." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "And Anna, don't share this with anyone outside the command staff yet. The world needs hope right now, not terror." As Stone walked back to his office, alerts began pouring in. The barrier's construction was accelerating. The clock was ticking, and humanity's time was running out. Director Anna Miller hadn't slept in 3 days. Her lab in the United Earth Command headquarters was filled with empty coffee cups and holographic displays showing countless calculations. She knew she was missing something important about the barrier's technology. "Run the simulation again," she told her computer. "Focus on the energy distribution patterns at the quantum level." The massive screen in front of her lit up with new data. This time, something caught her eye. A pattern she hadn't noticed before. "Computer, magnify section 47B, she ordered. Her eyes widened as the truth became clear. "Oh God. Get me Commander Stone. Now." Stone arrived within minutes, looking as tired as Miller felt. "What did you find?" Miller pointed to the complex data streams floating in the air. "The barrier isn't just meant to crush us," she explained. "It's designed to harvest energy from the compression. They're going to use our death to power their worlds." Stone's face hardened. "Show me everything." For the next hour, Miller explained her discoveries. The barrier wasn't just a weapon. It was an energy harvester of unprecedented scale. The Council had done this before, using their quarantine protocol to crush other civilizations and steal their energy. "Look at these power readings," Miller said, pulling up another display. "The energy output from crushing an entire solar system. It would power their core worlds for centuries." "How many?" Stone asked quietly. "How many other civilizations have they done this to?" Miller's hand shook as she brought up more data. "Based on the energy signatures I've detected in their technology, at least 7, maybe more." Stone slammed his fist against the wall. "They're not just murderers. They're serial killers on a cosmic scale." "There's more," Miller said. "I found something in their barrier technology, a flaw they don't know about." She pulled up a new simulation. "Their shields operate on a principle of quantum symmetry. But Earth scientists recently made a breakthrough in quantum entanglement that they haven't discovered yet." Stone leaned forward, suddenly alert. "Can we use it?" "Maybe," Miller nodded. "Their barrier technology is incredibly advanced, but it has a weakness. If we can create a quantum disruption field at exactly the right frequency, we could shut down their shields." Stone finished. "Not just the barrier, but all their defensive systems." "Yes," Miller said, "but we'd need to get close to their worlds to plant the disruption devices, and we only have 26 days left before the barrier seals completely." Stone was already reaching for his communicator. "Get me Admiral Thompson and Dr. Ward. We need to start building these devices immediately." As Stone made his calls, Miller noticed something strange in her data. "Commander," she interrupted, "look at this communication pattern I found in their network." The display showed a complex web of transmissions between Council worlds. But there were gaps, places where communications should have been but weren't. "These blank spots," Miller pointed. "They're hidden communications. The Council members are talking to someone off the official channels." Stone studied the pattern. "Can you crack their encryption?" "Already did," Miller said, typing commands. "It's... oh no." The decoded messages appeared on screen. They showed conversations between High Counselor Vex and several major weapons manufacturers in Council space. The truth was even worse than they had imagined. "They're not just afraid of us," Miller said, her voice shaking. "They're using us as a test case. If this works, they plan to do it to every emerging civilization they find. The energy harvested would make these weapons companies incredibly wealthy." Stone's expression turned grim. "So it's not just about fear. It's about greed. The Council worlds don't even know," Miller added. Only Vex and his inner circle are aware of the true plan. Stone stood silently for a long moment, processing everything they had learned. Finally, he spoke. "Send all of this to my office, every detail." He turned to leave, then looked back at Miller. "And Anna, good work. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to make sure this never happens to anyone else." As Stone left the lab, Miller turned back to her computers. They had the beginnings of a plan now. But 26 days wasn't much time to save humanity and strike back at an enemy that thought they had already won. The underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains buzzed with activity. In less than 2 weeks, humanity had converted the massive complex into the largest warship construction yard on Earth. Commander Stone walked through the main assembly area, watching as workers pieced together sleek, black vessels unlike anything humans had built before. "Beautiful, aren't they?" Admiral Thompson stepped up beside him. The old naval commander had taken charge of the fleet construction project. "We're calling them Shadow-class ships. Small, fast, and nearly impossible to detect." Stone nodded, watching as robotic arms installed quantum disruption devices into each ship's core. "How many will be ready in time?" 50, Thompson replied. "Not much compared to the Council's fleets, but these aren't meant for direct combat. Dr. Ward's new stealth system makes them practically invisible to Council sensors." They walked to the command center, where Dr. James Ward was running final tests on the stealth technology. The scientist looked up from his screens as they entered. "The latest tests are perfect," Ward said, pointing to the results. "The quantum camouflage system bends light and energy around the ships. As far as Council sensors are concerned, they might as well be space dust." Stone studied the technical readouts. "And the disruption devices?" "Ready for mass production," Ward confirmed. Director Miller's quantum entanglement breakthrough was the key. Once activated, these devices will create a cascade failure in any Council shield system within range. The room's main screen showed a map of known Council space. Hundreds of worlds, connected by trade routes and hyperspace lanes. But thanks to data stolen from Council networks, they had found the gaps, the forgotten paths and secret routes that would let Earth's ships slip through undetected. "We've identified their critical targets," Thompson said, highlighting several points on the map. "Military bases, shield generators, communication hubs. Small teams can plant the disruption devices at each location." Stone turned to the tactical display, where combat simulations were running. Earth's military forces had been studying Council battle tactics, looking for weaknesses. The aliens relied heavily on their superior technology, especially their shields. Without those advantages, "Show me the guerrilla warfare scenarios," Stone ordered. The display changed, showing simulated battles between small, fast Earth ships and larger Council vessels. The results were promising. Council ships were powerful but slow to react. They weren't used to enemies who could appear from nowhere, strike hard, and vanish again. "Our pilots have been training in the new combat techniques," Thompson said. "Hit-and-run attacks, ambush tactics, psychological warfare. Everything humanity learned from centuries of fighting ourselves, adapted for space combat." "The Council thinks technology alone wins wars," Stone said. "They've forgotten that warfare is about more than just bigger ships and stronger shields." Ward brought up another display, showing the barrier's construction progress. 20 days left before it's complete. Once it's done, the compression begins. "Then we stick to the timeline," Stone decided. 15 days to finish the fleet and train the crews. 5 days to get our ships into position. He looked at the assembled staff. "The Council thinks they have us trapped. They expect us to sit here helplessly while they build our cage. That's their first mistake." "And their last," Thompson added grimly. Stone walked to the window overlooking the assembly floor. Below, more Shadow-class ships were taking shape. Each one represented humanity's defiance, their refusal to die quietly. "Send word to all UEC commands," Stone ordered. "Operation Ghost Fleet begins in 15 days. Until then, radio silence except for emergency communications. Let the council think we're paralyzed with fear. As his officers moved to carry out their orders, Stone remained at the window. The council had spent centuries perfecting their technology, building their empire on the bones of murdered civilizations. But they had never faced humans before. They didn't understand that backing humanity into a corner was the worst mistake they could make. In 15 days, they would learn, and their lesson would be written in fire across the stars. The Shadow-class ship Silent Thunder drifted through space, its quantum camouflage making it invisible to nearby Council patrol vessels. Captain Lisa Reed watched from the bridge as another massive Council warship passed within kilometers of her vessel, its crew completely unaware of their presence. "Stealth systems holding steady," her science officer whispered, though there was no need for quiet in space. The tension had everyone speaking in hushed tones. "We're approaching the first target." The target was a massive communication relay station orbiting one of the Council's core worlds. Similar teams were approaching other targets across Council space, all coordinated to strike at exactly the same moment. "Status report from all teams," Reed ordered softly. The communications officer checked his screens. "All 20 strike teams report ready. Shadow ships in position near primary targets. Ground teams have infiltrated secondary targets, waiting for final countdown." Reed nodded. They had trained for this moment for weeks. The quantum disruption devices were ready. The computer viruses were primed. Now they just had to wait for the signal. Back on Earth, Commander Stone stood in the UEC command center, watching as green lights appeared on the massive tactical display. Each light represented a team in position, ready to strike. "Final team reports ready," his staff officer announced. "All ships in position. Ground teams standing by." Stone checked the time. They had chosen this moment carefully. In the Council's main assembly chamber, High Counselor Vex would be giving a speech about the necessary quarantine of Earth. The perfect time to show them just how quarantined humanity really was. "Send the execution code," Stone ordered. "Operation Ghost Fleet is go." Across Council space, human strike teams moved into action. On the Silent Thunder, Reed gave the order. "Launch infiltrators." Small, drone-like devices shot out from the shadow ship, too small for Council sensors to detect. They attached themselves to the communication relay's outer hull, their quantum disruption fields beginning to interfere with the station's shield harmonics. Similar scenes played out across Council space. Shadow ships launched their weapons. Ground teams activated hidden devices. Computer systems began to quietly fail. On the Council capital world, Vex stood before the assembled representatives, his voice full of false concern. "The quarantine of Earth is proceeding as planned. Soon, the threat they pose will be." The chamber's lights flickered and died. The massive holographic displays showing his speech crashed. Across the Council worlds, communication networks began to fail. Shield generators suddenly reported critical errors. In orbit above the capital, Reed watched her tactical display as the massive communication relay shields failed completely. "Phase 1 complete," she reported. "Moving to Phase 2. The Silent Thunder decloaked directly in front of the relay station, its weapons already firing. The station's backup systems tried to respond, but without shields, it was helpless. More shadow ships appeared across Council space, striking at now vulnerable targets. On the Council world below, panic spread through the assembly chamber. "What's happening?" someone shouted. "How did they get past the barrier?" Vex tried to maintain order, but the chaos only grew as reports flooded in. Military bases under attack. Shield networks failing. Communication systems crashing. Somehow, the humans they thought safely contained were striking at the heart of Council space. "Impossible," Vex muttered, watching as more reports of attacks came in. They couldn't have. But they had. While the Council watched their barrier being built, humanity had already slipped through their defenses. Now those defenses were falling one by one. On the Silent Thunder's bridge, Reed allowed herself a small smile as another council installation went dark. Send word to command. First strike successful. All teams report mission accomplished. The message reached Earth, where Stone read it with grim satisfaction. Send the secondary teams, he ordered. Hit their military bases next. Don't give them time to recover. Phase 1 had worked perfectly. The Council's overconfidence had been their weakness. They never imagined humans could penetrate their space so completely. Now they would learn just how wrong they had been to underestimate Earth. The real war was about to begin. Alarms blared throughout the Council's main defense headquarters. Emergency screens showed hundreds of red alerts as more human ships appeared from nowhere, striking at military bases across Council space. High Counselor Vex stormed into the command center, his face twisted with rage. How are they doing this? He demanded. Where did these ships come from? A military officer tried to explain. Sir, they're using some kind of cloaking technology we've never seen before. Our sensors can't track them. And our shields? He paused, looking afraid to continue. What about our shields? Vex growled. They're all failing, sir. Some kind of quantum cascade effect. Nothing we try stops it. On the other side of Council space, Director Miller watched from the bridge of the Earth ship Defiant as another Council battle cruiser's shields collapsed. The massive vessel, once thought invincible, now drifted helpless in space. All ships, weapons free, Miller ordered. Target their engines and weapons only. We're not here for revenge killings. The Earth fleet opened fire, their weapons precisely disabling the Council ship's critical systems. Similar scenes played out across hundreds of star systems as humanity's carefully planned attack unfolded. Back on Earth, Commander Stone studied the tactical displays showing their forces' progress. Status report, he called out. 80% of Council military bases hit, his tactical officer reported. Their shield network is completely down. Communication systems crippled. Their fleets are in chaos. They can't coordinate their responses. Stone nodded. Everything was going according to plan. But he knew the next part would be the most dangerous. Launch Phase 3, he ordered. Send in the main fleet. Across Council space, massive portals opened as Earth's main battle fleet emerged from hyperspace. Unlike the stealth ships, these vessels made no attempt to hide. They appeared directly above the Council's most important worlds, their weapons ready but not firing. In the Council Emergency Command Center, Vex watched in horror as huge human warships appeared above every major Council world. His military commanders were shouting for orders, but he had none to give. A transmission cut through the chaos, broadcasting on all frequencies. Commander Stone's face appeared on every screen in Council space. Attention Council leadership. Stone's voice was calm but firm. Your shields are down. Your weapons are offline. Your fleets are in disarray. But we're not here to destroy you. He paused, letting the words sink in. We found your secret files, Counselor Vex. We know about the other civilizations you murdered, the worlds you crushed for power and profit. That ends today. In the Council Command Center, Vex felt the stares of his officers. They were beginning to understand. What's he talking about? One of them demanded. What other civilizations? But Stone wasn't finished. We're broadcasting proof of everything to every world in Council space. The energy harvesting program. The deals with weapons manufacturers. The 7 civilizations you've already destroyed. Everyone will know what their leaders have done. Miller's voice came next, addressing the Council's military directly. Your shields will remain down until new leadership is established. Any ship that powers weapons will be disabled. We don't want to hurt you, but we will defend ourselves. On dozens of Council worlds, riots were breaking out as the truth spread. Military officers were refusing orders. Council representatives were demanding emergency sessions. It's over, Vex, Stone's voice concluded. Humanity isn't going to be your next victim. In fact, we're going to make sure you never harm another species again. He looked directly into the camera, his expression determined. To all Council citizens, We know most of you didn't know about this. We're here to help you build something better. A real galactic community, based on cooperation instead of fear and greed. Vex slumped in his command chair as his own officers turned to face him, their weapons drawn. Around him, screens showed the human fleet holding position above every major council world. They hadn't fired a single shot in this phase of the attack. They hadn't needed to. The truth had been weapon enough. The council's Grand Assembly Hall, once a place of order and control, had turned into a scene of complete chaos. Representatives from hundreds of worlds shouted and argued as more evidence of their leaders' crimes appeared on the massive screens above them. Director Miller stood at the speaker's podium, calmly presenting file after file of proof. This data shows the energy harvesting signatures from 7 destroyed civilizations, she explained. Each one matches the barrier technology that was being built around Earth. In the back of the hall, Commander Stone watched as the Council's carefully built power structure crumbled. Beside him, Admiral Thompson monitored reports from Earth's fleet, still holding position above every major Council world. "Sir," Thompson whispered, "we're getting interesting signals from some of the outer Council worlds. They want to talk." Stone nodded. "Put them through to the main screens." The angry shouts in the hall died down as new faces appeared on the displays. These weren't council representatives. They were leaders of worlds that had been forced to join the council through threats and intimidation. "We've been waiting for this moment," one of them said. Her people had been among the first conquered by the council centuries ago. "Our worlds stand with Earth. The council's tyranny must end." More declarations of support came in. Worlds that had suffered under council rule saw their chance for freedom. The council's military, learning the truth about who they served, began standing down their remaining forces. Meanwhile, in a secure room below the assembly hall, High Counselor Vex sat in custody, surrounded by his own former guards. Commander Stone entered, carrying a datapad. "We found your private files," Stone said quietly. "The ones you thought were so well hidden. The deals with weapons manufacturers, the profits from harvested energy, the bribes to keep other council members quiet." Vex didn't respond. His carefully built empire was collapsing around him, and he knew it. "But here's what's interesting," Stone continued. "We also found records of civilizations that resisted you, ones that fought back and managed to survive. You covered up their existence because you didn't want anyone to know the council could be defeated." That got Vex's attention. "How did you find those records?" "They were encrypted with our most advanced." "Your encryption was good," Stone interrupted. "But humanity has something you forgot about long ago: creativity. While you relied on the same old methods, we looked for new ways to solve problems." Back in the assembly hall, Miller was showing the council representatives something new: plans for a different kind of galactic government. "The United Earth Command proposes a new galactic assembly," she announced. "One where all species have an equal voice, where technology is shared, not hoarded, where stronger worlds help developing civilizations grow instead of destroying them." The hall had grown quiet as she spoke. Even the angriest representatives were listening now. "Earth's fleet will remain in position until a new leadership structure is established," Miller continued. "We'll help dismantle the energy harvesting program, and we'll help find and contact any other civilizations that might be hiding from council authority." A representative from one of the core council worlds stood up. "Why should we trust humans to have this much power? You've just proved how dangerous you can be." Stone stepped up to the podium beside Miller. "Because we could have destroyed you," he said simply. "We had the power to do to you what you planned to do to us. Instead, we chose to stop the killing." He looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of various representatives. "Humanity can be dangerous, yes, but we can also build, create, and protect. We're offering you a chance to be part of something better than an empire built on murder and fear." Slowly, representatives began to stand, first from the outer worlds, then from the middle systems, and finally even from the core worlds. One by one, they voted to dissolve the old council and form something new. As the votes were counted, Stone received a message from Earth. The barrier construction had completely stopped. Engineering teams were already working to dismantle it. The Council's reign of terror was over. A new age of galactic cooperation was about to begin. 1 month after the fall of the Council, the new Galactic Assembly held its first official meeting. The Grand Hall had been redesigned, replacing the old Council's hierarchical seating with a circular arrangement where all representatives sat as equals. Commander Stone stood at the entrance, adjusting his formal uniform. Director Miller walked up beside him, carrying a stack of data pads. "Ready for this?" she asked. Stone smiled slightly. "Ready to stop being a warrior and start being a diplomat. We'll see." They entered the hall together, taking their seats in Earth's section. Representatives from over 300 worlds filled the chamber. Some were former council members, others were from worlds that had been oppressed by the council, and a few were from civilizations that had been in hiding, now emerging to join the new alliance. The assembly's first elected leader, a respected scholar named Tech from one of the outer worlds, called the session to order. "Today marks a new beginning for all our peoples," she announced. "Our first act will be to officially dismantle the last of the Council's energy harvesting technology." On the main display, live footage showed Earth ships working alongside vessels from other worlds, taking apart the remaining pieces of the barrier that had nearly been Earth's tomb. The parts would be recycled into technology that would benefit all species. "Our second act," Tech continued, "will be to establish the Galactic Protection Force. Commander Stone, if you would present the proposal." Stone stood and walked to the central podium. "The Protection Force will have one primary mission: to prevent any civilization from ever again threatening developing worlds. We'll establish monitoring stations near emerging civilizations, not to control them, but to protect them until they're ready to join the galactic community." A former council representative raised an objection. "And who will watch this protection force? How do we know Earth won't use it to build its own empire?" "A fair question," Stone acknowledged. "That's why the force will be commanded jointly by representatives from all member worlds. No single species will have control. We've seen what happens when too much power is concentrated in too few hands." Miller took her turn at the podium, presenting the Technological Sharing Initiative. Earth's quantum entanglement breakthroughs will be shared with all members. In return, we'll learn from your advanced space travel technology. Together, we'll advance further than any of us could alone. The Assembly spent hours discussing and refining the proposals. Unlike the old Council's corrupt decision-making, every voice was heard, every concern addressed. It wasn't perfect. Nothing involving hundreds of different species could be. But it was honest. As the session neared its end, there was one final piece of business. The doors opened, and guards led in the former High Counselor Vex. He would stand trial for his crimes, but first, he had information to share. "Tell them what you told us," Stone ordered. "About the others." Vex looked older now, his arrogance replaced with resignation. "There are 12 more civilizations out there," he admitted. "Worlds that escaped our harvesting attempts and went into hiding. We never found them, but we knew they existed." A murmur ran through the assembly. 12 more civilizations to find, to welcome, to learn from. "We'll find them," Miller promised the assembly. "Not to conquer or control, but to show them it's safe to come out of hiding. To prove that the galaxy has changed." As the first historic session drew to a close, Stone looked out over the assembled representatives. A month ago, these same species had been enemies. Now they were working together, building something new. "Humanity's greatest strength," he told them, "isn't our technology or our military power. It's our ability to imagine a better future and work to make it real. We invite all of you to imagine with us." The assembly erupted in applause. Outside the hall, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating with them. The old council was gone, and with it the fear and corruption that had ruled the galaxy for so long. A new age had begun, and this time it would be built on cooperation, not conquest, on protection, not power, on hope, not fear. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what everyone had been fighting for.